Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Good afternoon. I'm not sure if I should say ladies and gentlemen because I see only very few gentlemen here in the room. How are we doing? Okay, I'll tell you what we've decided to do here, myself and my amazing speakers. We're going to engage you guys as much as we can in this session. Do we agree on this? Yeah, I know it's post-lunch. I know probably you've had a long day, but I promise you, this is going to be a very, very interesting session. And I'll tell you how we're going to start this. I also decided that I'm not going to do the usual introduction. I'm going to allow my speakers to do their own introduction. And again, they're going to do it very, very much in a storytelling way. They all come with amazing stories. Very inspiring stories. I think I spent 3 hours last night reading about each one of them and never had enough. So let me very quickly do my very quick introduction, and then I'm going to allow them to do a 1 minute. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you slides with 10 challenges, and I'm going to address each challenge to a specific speaker based on their line of expertise. And I'm going to engage you in this. So I'm very, very confident I'm not going to see faces looking into mobile screens, right? Okay, very good. So we have here Fida Tahar, who's the founder of the Women in Business Arabia Facebook group. And we have Sana Bagirsh, the CEO of brand Moxie, Alexander Loris, author and media expert, and Mariam Faraj, head of CSR at the NBC Group. And we have Sharmeen Chinoy, award-winning filmmaker. So if I can very, very quickly start with Fida. Again, 1 minute. We want that very inspiring part of your life. You know, tell them who you are. What is your story and why you are here today?
So I'm actually going to say the story behind the Women in Business group and why it actually came to life. I met this very smart, ambitious lady who sought my help in helping her tweak her business plan to reach out to angel investors to get funding to a project that she's been working on. And she honestly had 95% of the work done, and I helped 99% of the work done. And I helped her with that 1% of tweaking, polishing, and some introductions. And when she finally kicked off and managed to secure seed funding, she asked for another meeting, and she asked me if I would want, if she would pay me in cash or equity. And it blew me off because it made me think about the bad reputation that we've acquired somehow throughout the years as women pulling each other down instead of supporting each other. So I went back home and I started a Facebook group called Women in Business to prove to myself that there could be 200 women out there in the Arab world that are willing to help each other. And turns out, I did that in March this year, and turns out that so far there are 30,000 women who are actually doing that day in and day out.
Amazing.
And this group has been identified as one of the most engaged groups on Facebook. I'm currently working on institutionalizing this group, creating a strategy for it to be able to take it to the next level. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Sana?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Is my mic on?
Yeah,
okay. Maybe I should start with my background because that'll explain a lot of what I do. I'm actually from 3 continents. I am Yemeni from Hadramaut. I was born in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. My family are all Emiratis here, and I am a US national. So one of the things that has always been part of my DNA and the way that I think about things is, you know, the importance of bridge building. So you know, with everything, you know, I have my American friends, my Emirati friends, Ethiopians, Africans, all the different nationalities. And it's always important to bring people together. And so although I run an agency in 2454 called Brand Moxie, it's a marketing agency, our social footprint is maybe larger than what we do commercially. So in 2009, I launched 2 initiatives, Tempo Magazine, feelyourtempo.com, which is basically getting people to talk about the things that make them, that inspires their community engagement, the cool things that they do. It's about ideas. It's about, people who are active in the community and want to change things for the better. So this was Tempo Magazine. In that same year, I launched Tamakkan, which is an entrepreneurship, leadership, and innovation platform. And since 2009, we've been giving seminars for free on a monthly basis. And the reason I did that was because I felt there was a very important need to support SMEs, because sometimes they were looking for that one little trigger that would make a difference between success and failure. And we wanted to be that thing that they come to every month to enrich themselves. So this was another thing. And then more recently, we launched something called The Smoothies, a really cool platform. Watch out for it on Vox Cinemas, because on Sunday we're going to be announcing the winners. But this is a concept of the 1 minute, the New York minute, the 1 minute film. So what we do is we engage the public, we throw out a theme, and it's always about culture and integration and tolerance and all of those cool things that make us special living in the UAE. And so when we identify the winner's gonna have his or her film played before all Vox cinemas across the UAE and in the neighboring countries prior to the main film. And the whole idea behind it is the power of information, the power of sharing, and it's all about creating that very valuable thing called social impact.
Very interesting. Thank you. Mariam?
Good afternoon, everyone. So just to start off with, I'm actually a member of Women in Business, and I would love to congratulate you because it is a beautiful platform that brings everybody together, and we need to see more and more of those, in fact. So my name is Mariam Farag, and I lead the CSR program for MBC Group. And in fact, my story is that I've always worked with nonprofit organizations since I started this field 20 years ago. And about 5 years, I decided to take a leap of faith and join a private sector, something that I never thought I would do. But in fact, when I got this opportunity to join a media conglomerate, a leading media conglomerate in the region, I said this will be my key to tell everyone's story, because we talked about storytelling, and I'm very passionate about storytelling. I felt that the media has a huge role to play when it comes to giving a platform for youth to tell their stories, for underprivileged people to have a voice and to give them a voice, and especially for women. I come from a background where I was raised by a single mother back in the 70s in Egypt, and I felt that I was very privileged because I was raised on values that a woman can take on an economic role, and she can raise a family and be a head of household and still fulfill her duties as a mother and as a family member and a person from the community. The reason why I feel that media outlets and media conglomerates need to give the platform for people who do good, people who have social impact in our societies, is because now we need to hear more of hopeful stories. We face refugee crisis, we face a lot of challenges in the region and on a global level. The youth are facing unemployment rates that are disastrous. So I feel that we need to focus more and to shed light more on the hopeful stories. We need to give our youth some hope, some light at the end of the tunnel, but not just that. We need to get the real stories out, the resilient stories, so we can all be inspired and say, you know what, we can do it. Even if we have unemployment rates, even if we have poverty, if we have famine, we can still together be change makers, and we can still together make it happen, especially as women in leadership and empowering women in economics. So this is what I'm passionate about, and this is why I'm here today.
Alexandra.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased to be with you today. So my story is that as a child, I was very passionate about cartoons and Barbies and all the narratives where I'm from, in France, was white and mostly blonde. So I realized how much I had a low self-esteem for not finding any representation in all the French narrative, while my country has 400 years of slavery and 300 years of colonization. So for sure, the face of France is multiracial. But the narrative for kids and bringing up kids is not the case. Now I live in Brazil, in a country where the majority is black. And I realize that it's exactly the same. There is only blonde and white narrative. So I've developed platforms, social networks, artivism. I use art to actually talk about this cause, about diversity, and how to empower children and adults around a new narrative. And so I wrote a book on black inventors to find out that the fridge has been invented by a black person, the pacemaker, the parabolic antenna, just to give, and just to name a few, but I just focus on trying to rescue the self-esteem of black kids. There is a study showing that 85% of black kids choose the white doll as the nice one and the beautiful one, and the black doll as the bad one and the mean one, which means that our society is really sick. So we need to change this. And the same as for women, we get graduated much more than men, but we're still 6% of the executive board, when in 80% of the cases, we are the one who choose where we're going to live, in which school we're going to put our children, what car we're going to buy, what food we're going to buy. So in 80% of the cases, we are the deciders. So now we need to also change the narrative and stop with the promotion of the princess being nice, being beautiful, and empower ourselves to actually see how much we have a potential and value to add to society. And this is what I'm most passionate about, and I just dedicate my life to this mission, because I do believe that women, we are 52% of the planet, and we also give birth to 48% of the other side of the planet.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Charmaine?
So I'm a troublemaker. And I've been a troublemaker since I was 10 years old. And I remember my earliest memory of being a troublemaker was that I was being driven to school. And I remember looking out of the window and I saw this young girl. She was about 10 years old. I was 10 years old, except I was wearing a uniform. And she was begging. And I remember asking myself, why is it that this young girl is not going to school? And that's when I began asking difficult questions. Everyone around me. My mother, who was busy raising 5 daughters, so didn't have time to answer all of these difficult questions. So she, instead of asking me, because she would get irritated by, why is this happening? And I was the one in class who was putting up my hand all the time. Teachers didn't want to answer that either. My mother told me when I turned 14 that I should start writing for newspapers. So I should take all of these questions that I have out of the house into the world. And so I began really to be a journalist when I was 14 years old. And when I was 17 years old, that's when I landed myself in a lot of trouble, because I did this investigative piece. And it didn't make many people happy. So to shame me and my family, they spray painted my family's name and my name across our gate and across our neighborhood with profanities that I can't even repeat now. And the reason that they did that was because they wanted to shame me and my family, because we come from a conservative environment where if you shame the family, you force the family to be quiet. But my father said something to me that day that has always stayed with me. And it's so important for women, especially from our part of the world, to have fathers who stand by their daughters, who said to me that if you speak the truth, I will stand with you, and so will the world. And I knew that day that I could be a troublemaker for life. And my troublemaking has landed me in getting my country to have difficult conversations about issues like acid violence and honor killings. It has jump-started conversations about how to change laws, and has actually impacted the changing of several laws in the country. So my mission in life is to encourage other young women to be troublemakers.
Very good. Wow. I love that, troublemakers. I promise to engage you guys. So now to Sharjah, and let's look at the UAE as a model. 2 days ago, we celebrated our 46th National Day. Look at this conference. Probably, and I bet 90% of people behind putting this together is made of women, you know, and Her Excellency Reem here can agree with me. What's happening here in the UAE could be something amazing, you know. 9 women ministers, 20% of the National Council members made of women. Women are leading many aspects of life. And every front, women has become a choice right now, you know, and probably men will go on a strike sometime soon asking for their rights. Can we have a voice from any of the females here? What's happening? What is the feeling like? You know, we are really progressing here in the UAE. What does it mean to you guys, hearing a lot of amazing stories here? Can we have anyone commenting here from the crowd? Okay, please.
I'm a troublemaker too. So
Very good.
my name is Helen Al-Azaizi, and I'm the CEO of a kids entrepreneurship education platform. What I find is the biggest thing that's happening is that women are progressing, but there are still a lot of people that are not accepting it. And so if you are a woman and you're talking about yourself, you're narcissistic or you're egotistical, or why isn't she with her family? And that puts a lot of women down all the time. If she's late at work, why isn't she with her kids? If she's not, I'm sure your husband must be so supportive, you know? And there aren't a lot of husbands that are supportive. And so a lot of women are choosing not to have families. And it's a cycle. You know, and the biggest part of it is the fact that women are not empowered by themselves, as well as other women. I'm a part of the group as well, so I know that women support women, but they're not empowered to actually talk about the things that they achieve. They're not entitled to do that.
Okay, very good, thank you. And I would like to address my first challenge to Alexandra. Alexandra, now you live the 2 different worlds. How challenging it is for a young girl to get stuck on the stone age of history, on the dark side of history, and someone who lives in a very progressive, futuristic society?
Well, when I look at the opportunity that the universe has given me, I actually do things that we need to be troublemakers. We need to transgress the system. We need to actually realize that our voice has an echo. I stayed silent for most of my life and realized that actually when I started to verbalize my ideas, there was like a spiral of the spiral of silence. And the spiral of silence, it's when you start thinking something, but you believe that maybe your idea will shock other people. And then you hear someone else talking about it, and you're like, oh, I had this thought too. And another person, oh yeah, me too. And it's actually this spiral of silence that is linked to several people who actually believe of the same things, but we all become silent because we are afraid to actually verbalize those troublemaking ideas. And we need to actually position ourselves much more in politics, much more in the media, have strategy, actually get into groups of women who can empower themselves. I've done more than 100 courses on personal development, read probably 100 of books on strategy and on how to learn about self-help books. And it's very important to just always try to search, to empower yourself, because it's like taking a shower. It's not because you took a shower yesterday that you shouldn't take one the next day. The empowerment is the same. You need to empower and do exercise of empowering every day, because we are every day bombarded with unconscious beliefs through the series on TV, the cartoons, all the narrative is done to just inferiorize women. That's why we need to be careful with what we are nurturing ourselves. And I would like to give you a tool that really has made a difference in my life, which is to make a list today and not tomorrow, because tomorrow is never happening. It's always tomorrow. So tonight, before you go to sleep, make a list of 5 people you admire the most. 5 people that really inspire you. And I would like you to get in touch with those 5 people through Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Nowadays, we can reach anyone we want. And I would like you to write to those 5 people this simple thing. Look, I admire you for your trajectory, and I would like you to become my mentor. And being my mentor would be just to give me 30 minutes of your time per month. Just, through Skype, or I would come to you to take a coffee, and I would like you to tell me more about your life and how you got where you got. I mean, how did you got where you are now? And to give me advice on how I can be the best version of myself. I can tell you that 1 year from now, with those 5 mentors, maybe 3 will reply to you. You will never be where you are today. This will really give you a quantic jump, but you have to know that no CEOs, no politics, no people in leadership has got where they are without mentor. So we need to use the same tools, and people are not sharing their tools. So I really encourage you to go into finding mentors that really inspires you, and to actually put a strategy to become the best version of yourself.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Mariam, women empowerment is more of an initiative by the corporate world, and that this is mainly their CSR. How can this become a state of mind? How can it become a way of life? How it can become a corporate culture? How can you embrace this?
Well, I actually want to talk from the corporate side, but I also want to address what Alexandra said about the narrative side. Now, the corporate side, we need to see more women on the leadership level. We need to see more women in management. We need to see more women on the decision-making tables. Because what we see right now is that, yes, they throw them a bone. We have managers, we have in leaders, but when it comes to decision-making, they set them aside. We don't see a lot of women on a board of directors, where all the decisions are taken that actually affect mostly women twice a year. We need to see a lot of the HR policies changed. Maternity leaves. Maternity leave is very short compared to the Western world, and I'm talking on a regional level. We need to see women being respected in the workplace, because the problem is, and I speak as a working mom who's working full-time, who travels a lot, because what I do for youth empowerment and women empowerment, if I do it behind a desk, then what am I doing? I need to be on the field. I need to see the stories. I need to roll up my sleeves. So I like to engage a lot with students. So I'm traveling a lot. I have 2 boys. I get what Helen was saying. I get it from the mothers at school. Oh, you're finally here? You know, so there is lack of for she. I don't need a he for she. I need a she for she. Because if we empower each other, then we can rise above it. But also, at the workplace, if the HR policies are not empowering me as a woman, and I'm not talking just as CEOs or people in leadership and management, I'm talking about everyone. If I cannot have the freedom to work from home because my child is sick, and every time I'm gonna get rolling eyes and, you know, you're late or whatever, if I have a concert to go to for my children, if I have a birthday, unless the work is done, we need to give more women the freedom to work from home, to have a work-life balance, which doesn't necessarily happen, but still. So legislation needs to change. HR policies need to be for females, not against females. Females are not supposed to be judged that they get pregnant. So we are, you know, we're talking about from the Stone Age to the future. We're still in the Stone Age somehow. The UAE has progressed a lot beyond, you know, and we're seeing a movement in the region happening following the footsteps of the UAE, but we need to see more. Now, changing the narratives is a completely different side. I come from the media side, so we produce drama, we produce series for TV, and changing the narratives when you look at the TV series and the drama is a disaster. You know, so as a media responsibility towards our viewers and towards the families that we engage with in their living room every day, we looked at how we produce narratives as a responsibility from us to the viewer. So we're starting now as producers within the media group to look at ways we project women in TV series and drama. How the woman is told not to be a lawyer, you can't work late. So all the narratives that do not give women the right to be who they want to be, to dream and dream big, you know, and not necessarily be looked down upon. You know, you look at women trying to be managers, and you know, we have TV movies dating back to the black and white where they make fun of a woman and they make fun of the man that's married to a manager or a woman leader. So we need to change that narrative, be it in the newspapers, in print, in digital, we were talking about that, in drama, in TV. People need to change their perception. We need to look at women differently. And by the way, women heads households dates long time ago, before I even was born. You know, women are working in the field as farmers. Women are working in coffee shops and trying to raise families. So it's not about us sitting here on the panel, you know, it's about women that are honest, hardworking women trying to raise their families and support their families, and they don't have a voice.
Okay.
So
very good. Fada, I want you to comment on the next engagement. Now, a group for women, coaching for women, everything, it seems like within the boundaries of women. Are you reaching men? Are you reaching, you know, policymakers, people who would support the changes you are all seeking here? Or that's the entire conversation is taking more of a female to female direction?
So far, it is a female to female conversation. However, it does not mean that it does not affect policy and decision making. So social media and the digital world has finally given us the microphone. We finally have a voice that we can amplify, that we can use to lobby and be part of the decision making process and changing policies and so on. And yes, men are half of the society, but we still need to do work on our side before. So this group is about women not being shy to ask for help, to ask for knowledge, to share experiences. We need role models who are mothers, role models who are women, okay, who understand us, who tells we need to hear our own narrative from people like us. It doesn't mean that we don't deal with men. We have sons, we have husbands, of course, but we do need to have a platform for us to empower each other.
Then why can't men be part of your group?
we will create another one for men to join.
Okay, so we are
Not
allowed
this
very
one.
soon to be part of that group. Okay, that's great news. Okay. Um, I want you to comment here on the platforms, like social media, digital media gave women a voice around the world, which the mainstream media did not do in the past. How women are taking advantage of this. For example, the like button, it became more of a virtual hug, for women sharing their stories and other women liking their stories and supporting them. How, from a communication perspective, what are we doing right now and what needs to be done in your opinion?
That's a very good question. In my view, with the disruption, the complete disruption that's happening in digital, I think women have to step up and really accept a new role. Traditionally, when you think of women, women have always been guardians of the moral compass. Whether it's at home, with their husbands, in society, women have always been in the forefront of that. Right now, and Abdulatif, you know that, you're in communications, everything has been so disrupted. Right now, the multiplicity of channels, the content sometimes looks like it came from somewhere, but it's actually from somewhere else. You have the people, the evangelists, the people who are serving their own agendas, extremists who are, taking, talking to our children, talking to our youth. We women need to be involved in the narrative, not just in terms of content, but also in terms of platform, the whole apparatus and the technology. It's not just about, the Facebook, the superficial stuff. We need to know what our children are doing. We need to be involved in content creation. And we really, really need to be engaged. I encourage women to be, to really jump in, because if we don't jump in at this point, I honestly fear for the future of the next generation.
Okay, very good. Back to
May
Sharmeen.
I add something?
Yeah, please.
May I add something on the same
Please.
topic? So, for example, hashtag activism. Using hashtags, actually, we were able as women, by using hashtags on social media, to bring some of the world's most important issues and make them global headlines, like the Women's March, like the Delhi gang rape a few years ago, like the Me Too campaign recently. So those hashtags, they're just hashtags that were started by regular women and ended up affecting decisions on a global level. Okay, so do not underestimate the power and the voice that we actually acquired through social media.
Okay, very good. Now back to the crowd, and before I come to you, Sharmeen, now, how much more power women need in today's world, in your opinion? What is missing? And I'm sure each one of you comes from a different perspective, different background, different needs in life. Can anyone share what is missing, why we are here, why we still, hearing a lot of stories related to women and women empowerment? Okay. I'll have Her Excellency, and then I'll go to you, Layla. Please, if we can have a mic here. Can we have a mic, the front here?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The only thing from stopping a woman or you, ladies, from being you is actually you. That was something that was said to me and resonated, and still does today. If we want change, it needs to start from home. Beautiful stories, inspiring. However, this is each and everyone's individual story. If everyone comes out and shares their own story, communication is key to success. Collaboration is key to success. And I think that is what's missing. Using all the platforms in the right way and knowing how to use them, that definitely will get you success. But we, at the same time, are too shy as a culture. So there are cultural differences. We can never get someone to speak about gender inequality as freely as some of you would. But times are changing, and this is where we say, share your story. So ladies, I congratulate you for creating platforms allowing women to share their stories. And the more we read about this and the more it gets into media, there will be change. But I do agree with Mr. Abdulatif Al-Sayagh. We need men.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thank you.
It's not going to happen without them.
I have a supporter here in the crowd. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And we'll have one more before we move to Sharmeen. Yeah.
So my name is Lina Hurani. I'm the CSR Director for Al Ahli Holding Group. Again, I congratulate all the ladies for the very nice stories. Definitely, there is a lot that they have done and still doing for the society. I've been training young people and women specifically on being social entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs for the past 25 years old. So what I think, since you asked about the gap and what is missing, parents' awareness, acceptance from home, acceptance for mistakes. It's okay if you fail, and not the first time she faced something difficult, خلاص, close the business and come back. Or if somebody comment negatively on her website or on her platform, جبت لنا الفضايح, close it. So that kind of support at home, we need to talk to the previous generation as much as we are talking to the current generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Assalamu
So,
alaikum.
yeah, please.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm sorry I was at the back so you couldn't see my hand up.
That's good. You see, that's woman empowerment because we could not see her.
Well,
She
you just took away what I was about to say because you
Very
started
sorry.
off.
Please go
no,
ahead.
that's brilliant.
Okay.
You started off saying, "Do women need more power?" And actually, it's not about power; it's about empowerment, which is what you just said.
Sure.
And it's not about empowering women only; it's about empowering women as part of communities. Because you cannot have empowered women without empowered men.
Very true.
Because if men are not empowered, it's it's just a gender, it's a segregation
Nicely
thing.
said.
So it's more, women need to be empowered more, and I think a lot of opportunity has to be created for them. And I've known this from practical experience in South Africa, where I come from, and in projects that I've done in Pakistan, where we've empowered women to learn skills, and we've taken communities of beggars and given them a choice. We said, you can choose to beg. We didn't tell them it was wrong or right. Or you can choose to be trained so that you're empowered to start your own enterprise. And they chose when they were given the opportunity enterprise. And the basis of how I like to approach this is not so much about starting with a skill, but starting with a mindset. Because when the mindset is correct, it all naturally flows. And the mindset is how do you be significant in your own world, whether it's with your family, with yourself, with your spiritual inclinations, with your community. So be a significant person. Don't worry about success. It's a natural sort of tag onto significance. When you can be significant, you can be successful automatically. And in the final analysis, I mean, these ladies have set up platforms and created the opportunities that we're all just basically trying to aspire to be. There's no failure. Realize that there is no failure, there's only feedback. It's either feedback you like or feedback you don't like. When it's feedback you don't like, you have still learned, and you probably learned more from that. So everything is your own evolution. Even when a mistake happens or something goes wrong that appears to what is generally known as a failure, you have now just got a PhD or a certificate in what to do next. So in summary, it is about empowerment, not so much power. It's about being significant, and then success naturally follows. So don't worry about success. It just follows you naturally when you're significant. And don't worry about failure, because it doesn't exist except that people call it that. It's just feedback that you may not like, but you've still become something out of it.
Very good. Thank you so much. Now, Sharmeen, history often teaches us that change comes with hardship. Share with us, and you've been through a lot, and probably now you copyrighted a phrase that everyone will be using, later on. Share with us some of the challenges you personally went through, and since we are talking about stories, and I'm sure there are a lot of inspiring stories, something that was more of a turnaround in your life, that change which brought you here today.
So On most mornings when I wake up and read social media, I learn things about myself I didn't even know. There is so much misinformation that goes out there when you are a woman with a voice, and a voice that people find uncomfortable. My work has always challenged people. It's challenged people to look at their faces in the mirror and to see their reflection. And we come from societies that may have progressed, might have big buildings and big cars, might be sending their women to colleges and schools, but our mindset still is very conservative. We still have an old guard that controls things. There are unwritten rules that women must not transgress, however modern a society might be. And so when you begin to have difficult conversations about domestic violence, about honor killings, about violence in general about women, and it's not that violence against women is something that is just specific to our part of the world. If there's one thing that unites women around the world, is the fact that every woman has in her life faced some sort of harassment or violence. But it's especially difficult to talk about it in our country. So I'll tell you that it isn't easy to do what I do. But the reason I do it is simply because, and I'm going to tell you a story about a woman who taught me why one must continue to push the envelope. In 2011, I began making a film about acid violence. So women who had had acid thrown on their faces. When you shoot a woman and you kill her, her misery ends. But when you throw acid on her face, she is forced to live through that every single day when she looks at herself in the mirror. So when I met Zakia, who was a mother of 2 children, who had had acid thrown on her face, half of her face had melted off. When I met her, I was more nervous than she was. She was so confident, she was smiling, she was peeling apples for her children, and she was talking to me, and I didn't know, and I knew that I had to spend about several months following her life, how I would do that. And she told me something that day. She said, life throws curveballs at you. You have to learn how to throw them back. You have to fight for yourself, and you have to fight for others around you, because only then can you sleep well at night. And I've always remembered that, because sometimes when I fight for others, it's difficult. There are threats, there are things that are hurled at me, there are accusations, there are abuses, all kinds of things. And they take me back to being the 17-year-old girl that I was. But Zakia was an uneducated woman, and she fought and sent the man who threw acid on her face to jail. She became somebody that other women in her community could look up to. So if one woman can do that, despite all of the whispers and what the neighbors were saying and what society was saying, she stood up and did that. Then it is incumbent on women like myself to continue to fight, not only for those around me, but also to ensure that our daughters come into a world where they can feel empowered and achieve their dreams and have no one hold them back. So despite all of that, I continue to do what I do because I want my 2 girls to grow up in a different world.
Very good. Don't you love the fight inside? Back to Alexandra, but I want to engage the crowd as well before I engage you. What is a role model for you? What is it like, to grow up and become like someone? What do you have in the back of your head? So, and I'm sure when you're a little girl at home, they always want you to become like someone. So talking about women, and I'm sure there are a lot of inspiring women.
Yes.
Do you need to have one?
Hi, everybody. My name is Manal Al-Alim. Nice to meet you. I have only small words from my experience as a mother, as a grandmother also, and I teach a lot of women here. Maybe you know me. Who knows me?
Wow.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Rida? Everybody.
Very good.
Okay, I notice always there is a gap between the successful woman and being in a kitchen. So my advice is the balance. Building your family is starting, and building yourself. And also, before this Hala Kazem was here, and she's a grandmother also. Being a successful woman is a balance with your husband, with your family, with your even your health.
Sure.
So this is my advice. The perfect woman
Sure.
is who can really control the balance.
Very good. So that
Yeah.
balance is very important.
Yes, very important, especially being responsible for feeding the kids and for
Sure.
feeding the family. And in our Western style, that
Sure.
women should leave the kitchen, which is really wrong, because you
Okay.
are building family, you are building a nation by giving them good health and good nutrition.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Now, can I see some hands here? How many of you have role models in the back of your head? Someone you want to be like now, a few years from now? Okay. What, 10%? What about the rest? Why don't you have one? Why not? Do you want to be one? Yeah? Alexandra, what is it? I mean, do we have to always embrace this image, and everyone dreams of becoming like someone else, a CEO, a woman who's a leader, a minister, or you want to have your own role model when you grow up and you want people to look at you as someone very symbolic? Can you comment on this, please?
Yes, I actually do believe that women shouldn't be perfect and should stop to have, especially how the narrative, the Hollywood narrative, which just tells us to be thin, beautiful, successful, a beautiful lover, a beautiful mother, a wonderful friend, and it's just very difficult to manage to be to be good in every aspect. And I think we need to actually have more sorority and bring, our vulnerability. There is actually a beautiful TED talk on vulnerability, on how women, we can actually have the right to fail. And it's actually through failure that we actually can make it to find actually our best version. We need to stop. One study of Stanford University showed that the best thing that we can do for our little girls is to actually teach them not to be nice. Because while we teach them to be nice, we actually disempower them to have the right to say no and to have the strength to actually put what they think, and when they're not, they disagree, they don't have the power to do so. So we actually need today to empower our little girl. And Your Highness, I would like to address that I do believe that I actually understand the fact that we believe that it has to be at home that we are going to raise the values of our children. But unfortunately, the system is much stronger than our home. Before I became a mother, I believe I would be a perfect mother. It did not happen. And I thought that I was strong enough to never bring any arms, any guns, any violent things inside inside my house. And actually, my son is 5 years old, and he only talks about monsters that explode, and he loves guns, and he loves all this narrative, because all the narratives for little boys are about violence. So no matter how much I don't want to bring violence into my home, the system is much stronger than me. And I also see how the racism is penetrating him already at 5 years old. My husband is white, and my mom as well, and my son was born white and blonde. And now he's already telling me racist things, that he wants to change his mom because he wants to have a blonde mom and a white mom. And I realized that no matter how much I work on diversity, ethnical, racial, the thing is that when he opens a book at school, the mom is blonde. When he opens the video games, the mom is white and blonde. When he opens the TV, the cartoon, the mom is white and blonde. So no matter how much he has a beautiful library of diversity books and superheroes that are diverse also on the skin color, the system is much stronger than I am. That's why when you actually look at the numbers, when a woman has to apply for an executive job, if she has, I mean, like if a man, for example, has 30% of the request field, he will feel powerful to apply for the executive job. A woman will need to have 85% of the request to actually feel that maybe she can apply. That's why, you know, we have a way of feeling inferiorized because the narrative of the media and the marketing is just always putting us in a place where we don't feel enough, where we don't feel that we deserve. We also have the syndrome of inferiority and a syndrome that makes us believe that when we get to those executive places, we're still thinking, oh, do I really deserve it? Am I really in the right place to be, you know, the best version of myself? That's why we need to learn and to debate more about it, to actually realize how much we actually have many talents and a wonderful potential to have value to the society. And if you look at the last, and I will end with this, the last research of McKinsey, they show that companies who bring more women into their organization have raised up 35% of rentability. And you know why? Because it's very easy. If you only let men in the executive board to develop products, strategies, publicity, marketing, to talk to the 52% of women, they'll never be able to. So by bringing women into the company, you're actually adding value to the company to think differently, to build differently, to create differently, and to add innovation in a very different way, to adapt the way you talk to the real potential of customers, while we know that 80% of the decision making are done by women.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mariam, now you work for a big group like the MBC. Hearing Alexandra, what would you do from a CSR perspective to change this stereotype?
Well, I just want to comment one thing, and then I will address
Please.
because I really want to congratulate you on what you said, because really women, we expect too much, and society is expecting way too much from us. So we end up failing ourselves, and we set ourselves to fail, actually, because we want to be perfect. We want to be the perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect employee, the perfect, everything. We want to do it all, and it's great, and we can do it all. But the thing is, if we don't have the male support at home, be it the father or the husband or even the kids, then it's not really a supportive network. We need the supportive network. We don't need to be expected to be perfect at everything. If I don't feel like cooking today, my husband can do the cooking, because that's exactly what partnership is all about, So I don't need to prove myself that I'm a great woman just because I made a meal. Of course, I want my kids to have a healthy snack or a healthy meal, but I can delegate, because without delegation, we think we're superhumans. We're not superhuman. We are not. And that really what brings about a lot of depression for women and a lot of setbacks, because we want to do everything, and we can do everything, but we need help. If you do not stand in front of the mirror and say, you know what, I can't do it all because I'm human, and it's not about a woman or a man, it's about humanity. It's about being a human being and respecting yourself and your limitations. That's a start, So changing perceptions start from us, and having to set the boundaries for us to say, you know what, I need today for myself. I need today to just give it to me. What happened to me before I was a wife and a mother and an employee? I was a person. I was Mariam. You know, I was not somebody's anything. I was just me. So we need to give that privilege and that right to ourselves. As a corporation, we need to trust that women, you know, as a private sector, we need to trust that women are capable. Alexandra, you mentioned something very important. We cater to 50+% of the society. We need creativity, we need innovation, we need communication to the population that makes the decisions at home, whether we like it or not, it's true. And you know, we need to cater to the people that are actually raising the next generations. The other thing is changing narratives. I mean, at MBC, we have our employees make up 20%, and we want to go for more. But society doesn't really give us much because we work on a 24-hour cycle. So sometimes the house doesn't allow the woman to stay overnight at work. So again, it goes back to society. It goes back to the home, you know, to the elements of where we were raised. We have top management make up mostly of women at MBC. So we give women the center stage. We give women the leadership, but we need more. We need more private sector to trust women to take on decisions, to trust women to do the job and do it well, because we know how to multitask. This is something that was given rightfully so at birth, because we are mothers, you know, we're born to be, so we know how to multitask. The other thing is the changing narratives when it comes to raising boys. At home, my husband was used to saying, be a man. And I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? What are you talking about, be a man? He's human. Whether he's a boy or a girl, he has the right to cry. He has the right to be upset. Sure. And it's not because be a man, don't cry because you're a man. So what about women? Women are what, weak because we cry? So also changing narratives and changing how you speak to your children makes up 80% of how they are raised and about to be, you know, so you're changing the cycle. So now we are all very much aware of what we say at home, because I am raising 2 boys that eventually will be fathers and husbands, and either will raise other girls or boys, or will be taking care of a family, and we are responsible to have them understand that women and our men are different, females and males are different, but the respect is the same. So it's not a woman can't do and a man can do. So really it starts at home, and we are responsible to raise our children the way we want them to be in society, to be good human beings.
Sure. Very good, thank you. Now, how many of you wake up every morning with that duty of proving to the world that you are capable of doing something just for being a woman? That you need to do that extra work? The question is, if you have to wake up every morning, commenting here on what Maryam said, that you need to always keep proving yourself. You need to always do that extra to show that you are capable of, yeah. Can we have the mic there, please?
Hello everyone, I'm Priya, and I grew up in India in a small town called Haryana, where female feticide is a huge problem. Like if you're born as a woman, they kill the infant at birth, and males, if a man is born, there is a special celebration that happens only specifically when a male child is born in the family. And I'm privileged that my parents educated me, but I feel it, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I do internally feel a moral imperative to work hard and get to a position that I have a voice to talk louder than the society, as the panelists mentioned. The society is loud. So yes, I grow up, I wake up every morning with the moral imperative that someday I should have a voice that is louder to speak against.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Now, Fida, I want you to comment on this. Now, within your community or the business community, what are the biggest challenges, you know? Is it exactly what Mariam said, women trying to balance, women not being able to achieve their dreams? Can you give us
a lot of challenges, but since it's a platform that's focused on business, I would like to first talk about the business challenge. And it's the fact that a lot of women are still lacking the basics of business tools, the basics of business communication, business networking. And this is extremely important, because if you want women to be empowered, they have to be economically empowered. They need to be able to, they don't have to have their own businesses, but they need to be able to compete with men and have access to the same type of knowledge, the same time. And I've noticed that women hesitate before asking questions. So my inbox is filled with very important and valid questions that women are embarrassed to ask. And they are asking me to post those questions on their behalf. And each question is getting 20, 30 answers sometimes. So access to knowledge, being confident enough to actually think that it is better to, excuse me, but ask a stupid question than make a stupid mistake. Networking with other women, asking partnerships. You know, I think there are two ladies over here who met on the group and who ended up being partners and opening a company. I mean, the value of networking. There's, out of this group, we now have Arab women in science in the US. So the value of this, creating a lobby that could we can help each other rise up.
Very good. I'm very afraid time is up. If I can just request giving each speaker 30 seconds. If there is one decision that you would take immediately, you know, to make a change and to see that dream coming true, what would be that decision? In 30 seconds, please.
Any decision.
Any decision. Any decision.
In Jordan, it would be to we still have 17 laws that discriminate between women and men. It would be to actually have the same legal rights for women as men.
Very good, thank you.
I think it's what you touched on earlier, which is really engaging men as well. There's no point in us talking to each other as women. I think we need to bring in men. And I think we should, with our young people as well, really start empowering them and allowing them to fail.
Very good, thank you.
I would like to see more girls stop dropping out of school, because that's the beginning of the disaster. If we start having more girls continue their education, we will have more empowered women economically, because there are a lot of women that are not empowered economically that cannot leave a marriage or cannot leave a home or cannot take a step forward because they don't have the means. So I'd like to see every woman in this region and globally to be economically empowered to take the right decision for herself and not be at the mercy of anyone.
Thank you.
If I had a magic wand, I would invert the world, which would mean I would put women in power, 70% of women in power in politics, in every narrative that we have in the books, scholar books, where we would see inventors, women that have done incredible things, and I would really put also in the narrative of sitcoms and series, women being empowered already to be leaders and inspiring women. I would just take off also the hypersexualization of women and the violence that is going through pornography, and which is much more important than we actually think it is, and which resolves to actually be the cause of the violence that we see into the world. And I believe that if we had 70% 1% of women in power, we would definitely not have any more conflict in the world. We would stop probably to end up, we would end up war, and the bomb, the atomic bomb would disappear, guns as well, because I do believe that if we put a Muslim mother, a Jewish mother, and a Catholic mother into a room, knowing that those three mothers have lost one of their child into those conflicts, those world conflicts today, I'm sure that if you let them brainstorm on how to solve those conflicts, it will be very different from what our governments are doing nowadays. Thank you.
We come from societies where people are always afraid of being the first. What is the society going to say? What are the neighbors going to say? What is family going to say? And so I wonder if the thing to do would be that all of those people who have been the first, the fathers who've allowed the daughters, the husbands who've been supportive, the sisters, the mothers, the women who've made it, the men who've made it, to amplify their voices so that others realize that it is okay to let your daughter do something. It is okay to let your wife go out and be this person. It is okay for all of these women to realize their dreams. But we need to bring out those role models. We need to bring out those ordinary men and women whose names you don't know about, but who have allowed the women in their families, given them the space, nurtured them to become the trailblazers. And I think that once we realize that it doesn't matter what the neighbor says, it doesn't matter what society says, we'll all be happier people.
Thank you, thank you. At the end, as a male moderator, if I could conclude this, in one sentence, I would say, you are our true power in life, So without you, I don't think we can even exist. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could kindly ask you to put your hands together for our amazing speakers here. Thank you so much for your engagement. Enjoy the rest of this amazing conference. Thank you.